everyone, I'm Wayan Fitriani. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about e-learning assignment, and the theme of my talk is complete 10 questions that given by my lecture. So please keep watching. The first question is, what is online learning? Explain also synchronous and asynchronous learning. Online learning is the learning process that happens completely online or in the internet without communicating face-to-face. To do online course, we can use several applications such as Schoology, Kahoot, e-learning, etc. And synchronous learning means that the learning process is happening in the same time. For the example, the learning process that happening in the class, it means that learning process happen in the same time and the same place, namely in the class. And asynchronous learning means that learning process is happening in the different time. For the example, online learning process that happen in the different time, which means the students can study anytime, day or night, within series of fixed time periods. Besides, asynchronous learning also takes different place. And secondly, what are the basic features of an LSM? Please explain. As we know, LSM is Learning Management System. It uses how to create and manage an online course. And there are 9 basic features of learning system management. The first one is announcement, syllabus, lesson, discussion, on for discussion forum, Dropboxes, gradebook, course email, and resources. And then I will explain one by one for you. Announcement. Announcement is where the teacher communicates the important updates to the class. When the teacher posts an announcement, it will be waiting for the students to read it whenever they enter the online course environment. And the next is syllabus. Syllabus is an essential component of the course environment. It provides structure of the course and online course expectation. And the next element is lesson. Lesson is the core instructional containers for the course. Online lesson replace the lecture, discussion, and activities that might take place in an outside classroom. And the next is discussion forum. Discussion forum is an asynchronous communication tool for the exchange the idea through the use of a message board format. And the next is Dropboxes or assignment upload. Is a digital space where the students submit their assignment and accessed by the teacher. And the next is gradebook. Gradebook is the tool that explains the students' attendance, participation, readings, assignments, and project grade. And the next element is course email. Course emails is an asynchronous communication tool that enable for the teachers to send message to online class members and also view, receive, archive, or send course related to the message. And the last element is resources. Resources is the all types of an online material that students are required to review. And the next is number 3. The example of a good introduction writing for one topic meeting, and please explain. Clear and concise writing always supports and Always support good communication and learning. Use clear writing models and concise, accessible styles that students might emulate. Whatever the students, the teacher might also find that commenting on students' writing improves the learning process. And for the example, you can read on the PowerPoint. Here is the example. And then we move to the question number 4. Why online material must be attractive? What elements are needed? Please give an example. Why online material must be attractive? Because online material, through online material, students can understand the material easily. If the teacher uses attractive material, it doesn't make students bored in learning process. It can motivate the students to study hard because they will always be interested to study hard. And the elements are needed. The first, rationale for good visual design. Good visual design supports understanding through simplicity, clarity, and organization. And visual design online. Visual design online, the classroom teachers in some fields depend on using visual in the classroom. And the next element is page layout. Page layout refers to arrangement of text, image, and other object on a page. An online layout must be open. And the next is text. Better to use sans serif than serif because serif in the text that provide in online learning because serifs are small, pen-like extension that you find on some of the letters, while sans serif are simpler in form. And the next is graphic elements are symbols and icons to signal the standard. The bullets number in a series are to set upon items that can be listed. And for the resources is very useful for learners to help learners find some material. And the next question is number 5. Please explain the types of online learning activities and provide relevant technological tools for the types. The first type activity is class discussion. Class discussion is an asynchronous communication that used to share and exchange learners' knowledge and idea. The tools that can use for this activity is Schoology. And the next activity is journal writing. It's an activity that allows students to reflect on the steps they take to understand new knowledge or develop new skills. And for the tool is blog. The learners can use blog for journal writing. And the next activity is share knowledge base. Share knowledge base. In this activity, students collaboratively with one another to build communication in online classes that enable for students to do their assignments and develop their critical thinking skills. For the tool, the learners can use Wiki. And the next is practice exercise. Practice exercise is the teacher usually provide testing and quizzes for learners. The benefit is instant feedback that given to the students by the teacher. And the tools that can be used is testing or quizzing. And the next activity is project. Students work in group, which is called learner-centered. If the learners get project, it means that learners actively participate in learning process. For the tools that can be used for this activity are work groups, wikis, blogs, or discussion forum. And the last activity is receptive activities. In these activities, teacher or students doing audio or video or visual presentation. In this activity also provide course reading. The tools that can be used for this activity are PDFs, podcasts, YouTube, Google presentation, and etc. Now I would like to move on to the questions number 6. Please provide an example can be used to the teacher to optimize the discussion. There are the following tips for improving the quality of treated discussion. The first one is model good communication. Model good communication. If students do not meet your expectation for proper grammar, capitalization, and etc., email the individual students privately to express those concerns. And the next is don't overemphasize to the point. It's to the point that you intimidate students and make them reluctant to the post. If you are teaching an English class and grammar is part of the course, but in the most classes you need to focus on what students are saying, not on how they say it. And the next is help students understanding your role in the discussion forum. And the last is use color for emphasis. Occasionally you will need to get students' attention in the online forum to redirect the discussion or clarify what you expect of students. One way to do this is to use different color font. Now, turning to question number 6 and number 7. Please provide an example of learning resource that can be used to engage learners in online learning. The first example is text-based supplemental resources. Text-based supplemental resources such as quotes, literary review, critics, and also newspaper and magazines. And the other example is image resources. For the example, the teacher can provide the photos, screenshots, charts, graphs, and illustration for the learners in online learning. And now moving on to number 8. Kindly give an example of effective assessment in English online teaching and learning. You can pick one or the integration of more than one language skill. Assessing refers to the strategy that designed to convince students' ability, so that the teacher can know how far the students understand about the material that given by the teacher. Assessment also determines the extent to which students have achieved learning outcomes. For the example, you can see on the PowerPoint. Here is the example. And the next question is number 9. What are the basic elements to consider when building an online course? Please explain. The basic elements are the first, the critical importance of learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are at the core of process that create courses and programs to follow through on their promises. Thus, there are learning outcomes that are generated at each stage in the process. And the next is the online syllabus. An online syllabus contains many of the same elements as an outside syllabus. The basic categories include course title, course name, course description, course objective, evaluation, plan, grading, requiring readings, recommended reading, and course outline. The syllabus contains a very detailed course outline and through explanation of how the online course is organized and will operate. And the next is using the course outline to structure the online course. Plan your study program week after week, and there are 3 good areas to start. The first one is begin with the learning outcomes. Each unit will have at least one learning outcomes. The first is working backwards. You then plan what assessment you need to ensure that learning outcomes are met. And the last area is using assessment as a measure of your content. You describe the knowledge, skills, and steps that needed to enable students to succeed in the final project. In this case, you can create a professional slideshow. And in this point, you must have all the background knowledge that you need to do. And the next element is building the lesson and section. Units and lessons are really just organizing structure. The meat of the course is within the section or segment of the time within each lesson. That brings me to the final point is the question number 10. Please give an example of one online lesson in your class for one meeting. You can see the example of online lesson in the class for one meeting on the PowerPoint. The first is students observe the animation video about descriptive text, and then they make 3 questions related to the animation video about descriptive text, and then they are given the PPT by the teacher, and then they create one descriptive text about tourism or famous object. And the last is submit the assignment. The assignment must be uploaded through Schoology. Okay, that brings us to the end of my explanation. Forgive me if there is an unclear explanation, and thank you for your watching.